Now we're joined by a civil rights activist and host, director and producer of Live on the Fly, Randy Credico. Randy, I'm glad to have you join me now.
I am in such a good mood. I didn't hear what I just heard earlier today. That was music to my ears. That was really wonderful.
It's nice. It's nice to hear from you. Now, we have heard Trump's speech and quite a provocative message. What do you think?
Well, he's totally right. I totally agree with him 100%. It could have come out of my mouth and all the other people who've known about this for the last 3 years. What a lout, what a scoundrel, what a corrupt individual Zelensky is. And also the fact that he was just a moderate, successful comedian. He's a terrible comedian, the worst. So we got out of that, and he played a role for the last 3 years, and he sold out his country for personal gain and to mollify these neo-Nazis. And now the chickens have come home to roost. He is a Mephisto, a modern Mephisto who sold his soul to the devil, and now the devil is about to grab that soul.
Now, why do you think there is no comment from Zelensky on this so far?
Because somebody finally got to him and said, keep your mouth shut. Donald Trump, what he said yesterday, forget about that. Was a coup de grace. He has no chance ever to make a comeback, resurrect it. It's some kind of pragmatic relationship with Trump. That was it. Comes out and says he has cognitive dissonance. He's going to say that to Trump. Trump will not forget that. Like I said, was the end of it for Zelensky. It was already the end of it, but that was the final nail in the coffin. And what I would do if I were him, I'd ask Elon Musk to put him on SpaceX and send him to the moon at this point and move in.
All right, maybe that could happen and he will have fun. But Trump specifically
where else
said...
is he going to go? Where
yeah.
else is he going to go right now? He's like where Mussolini was in 45. The Italian people said enough of this after he repressed them for 20 years, and they went and strung up him and his wife, girlfriend, Clara Petacci, on piano wire in Rome. That's, I mean, I don't see any other Somoza in Nicaragua when he went to Paraguay. He's in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't want to be this guy for all the money that he has. And he's got billions of dollars, no doubt.
Now we see how the coming days are going to be with him enjoying himself as he used to. Now, Trump specifically said that without allowing elections in Ukraine, Zelensky is essentially a dictator. What is your thought on this assessment?
Well, he's absolutely right, and I'm glad to see that. Donald Trump he's been getting a lot of bad advice and a lot of disinformation from the previous administration that was held over in the CIA and the other intelligence agencies. Bad advice, just totally garbage information, and he relied on that. Now he's got the real information, and he realizes that this guy needs to have elections. The problem is he can't have elections. It's a catch-22 for him, because if he doesn't, then he's a dictator. If he does, he's got 4% of the population support. He's got a lower approval rating than Satan in that country. So he has no chance. He couldn't win an election as a dog catcher at this point. So I don't know what he can't have elections, real elections. If he had real elections, he'd be gone in a minute. So, like I said, he's in a catch-22 situation, and, time for him to shut up and take what's left on the table. He shouldn't be at the table to begin with unless he's going to be a waiter there and keep his mouth shut. But he has no business being at the table. He's the one that took the information from Boris Johnson and scuttled the peace agreement in April of 2023, and it was 22, and that's what he did. He sold out his country. He sold out 1 million plus Ukrainians have died as a result of him listening to Boris Johnson and to Tony Blinken and the rest of these money grabbers down in D.C. I can't tell you what he should do at this point in time. What I would do is just try to dress and drag. He's done it before, dress and drag and sneak out of town. You know what I mean? He did that on his TV show. He dresses up in drag and gets out of there and find a country that's willing to accept him. And I think there are very few that will.
Now, Trump also warned Zelensky to move fast or he is not going to have a country left. I wonder what you think he means by that.
Well, listen, because the Russian military is methodically gaining more ground, and they're going to end up with Odessa and the Kharkov region before long. I mean, they're just the army is ready to collapse. There's tens of thousands of people surrendering or dying, and there's not enough to dragoon off of the sides of the streets in Kiev and other cities in the east and western Ukraine and throw them into the meat grinder. Even if you get them, you can't train them and then put them out. You just put them out there, they're sitting ducks. So they have no defense. Like I said, it's collapsing, and then Russia will just continue to march forward and march Zelensky out of town, and there will be no country. So he's got a lot less than he had 3 years ago, and he should take whatever deal he can possibly get at this point. But he runs the risk, if he does that, of being murdered by the banderistas in that country, the neo-Nazis. You know, he's got a gun to his head from them, and he's got a gun to his head from Trump to surrender. Not surrender, but at least come to the table. He's got to do it. But, like I said, he's caught in the middle, and it's his own doing. It's his fault. This guy, and it's the fault of the oligarchs that put him in and masqueraded him off as a peace candidate, right, when he ran in 2019. He was never a peace candidate. He just went in there, played the part. You watch him on the TV show, you realize this guy's not ready to run a country. And he gets in there and he's easily manipulated, and he goes along and he sells out. But, so he's got a lot of money. What good is it going to do you? It's like having $100 billion on an island with no water.
Now, talking about money, Trump accused Zelensky of having played Joe Biden like a fiddle to get massive amounts of funding approved over the past 3 years. If you assess what happened, is that the case?
Yeah. That case is that he played him like a fiddle. He went in there and did this Churchillian thing. Biden wanted to hurt Russia. This was a willing dupe to hurt Russia, and he had a high price to do it, all right? And they knew he was stealing money. They knew all the people around him were stealing money. And Zelensky said, well, where did the other $200 billion go? Well, up his nose and into a bank account in the Cayman Islands. I don't know where it went, but certainly Biden's friends in the military-industrial complex made a fortune, and so did Zelensky make a fortune, and all of his friends. They took a lot of the weapons and sold them on the black market. Now that's a real problem internationally, what they did with those black market weapons. But, obviously we know he's got, his wife just drove out of town in a Bugatti, a $300,000 Bugatti. She's in New York City at the UN across the street at Bulgari buying $1 million bracelets and necklaces. It's a totally corrupt family, and so are the people around them. They all took that money. They knew they were going to lose. There's no way that they were going to be. They saw the writing on the wall, but they kept getting money and said, we're going to fight, we're going to fight, we're going to go to the end. We're not going to stop. We're going to have all the time. We're going to have Moscow, Boy, he's so difficult to listen to. And, look, I was in show business. Let me say, I was in show business. And there's been a lot of talk about him and his cocaine habit and whether that's true or not. To me, as a guy who was in show business for 40 years, back in the 80s, we all did cocaine. I know the behavior. And he acts right now like a guy who's addicted and using a lot of cocaine, because when you make wild statements like he's making, bad judgment, the way he twitches around, that is a guy that is on drugs. And, this is your brain on drugs. You look at Zelensky. And, can you imagine Putin talking about, he didn't even talk about Biden that way. He didn't talk about Johnson. He never insulted them personally. This guy's insulting Trump personally. Oh, man, way off the hook.
All right, now, Zelensky has insisted he still has the support of the majority of Ukrainians. In fact, 57% to be exact. What he said. But Donald Trump says that the Ukrainian politician actually has very low approval ratings. Now, what do you think of that? And why then is Zelensky afraid to hold elections?
Because he has 4% approval rating. That's why he knows. I mean, look, when you got 4% approval rating, why would you run? You have no chance. You can have demonstrations by the mothers and the widows of those who he threw in the meat grinder. He knows that he's dragged them off the street to make it look like they've got an army, they're getting slaughtered, and then he's putting his hand out to get money from Washington. All right? So everyone's hip to Zelensky right now. He is not liked. Go there, ask people, even the SBU would probably murder or torture anyone that it says, look, we don't like Zelensky. But you know that he is not liked, what he has done. There's no free press there. There's no free anything. There's no elections. He called him a dictator. He is a dictator. He is a thug. He's an unelected thug. And he doesn't want to go like all dictators. But you know what? All dictators, whether it be Napoleon or Hitler, end up leaving in the end. And he just doesn't, but he's a small-scale dictator, but he's caused a lot of damage to this country. And he allowed all of the, I was there in Donetsk and Mariupol last year, a year and a half ago, and I saw what they were doing. They were taking those HIMARS missiles and they were blowing up mosques. They were our churches. They were blowing up open markets. They were blowing up universities. They were blowing up school children and buses. I was there. I saw it for a week and was scared to death because of all the HIMARS missiles aimed at civilians. All right, so that's what he's done with the weapons that we've given him.
It's always a delight, Randy, speaking with you every time. Thank you so much. Randy Credico. All right. Randy Credico is civil rights. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we had a great time yesterday. All right. Randy Credico is a civil rights activist and host, director, and producer of Live on the Fly. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Great. Right.